Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos podcast, and we apologize we about not having a show last week, but we all have lives outside of Manely Broncos. We just decided to kind of just take the week off and just enjoy that week, and we are back at it, and we are refreshed, we are rejuvenated. And we are ready to talk some Denver Broncos, and I should say Denver Broncos rookies, since the rookies reported today. Before we dive into any of this, hope you guys in the comments are doing well. And Brandon, how are you doing? Are you surviving? I know you're kind of, your head is above water a little bit, but you doing okay?
Yeah, just a little bit, but no, I'm doing well. Had a good weekend. Went up to the mountains for a bit.
What's up, Mikey?
Got out on the lake on a boat.
Andy,
super fun. Got a little bit too much sun, and just attempting and mostly failing to continue to adult. So, that's what this is for.
Yeah,
if you can see it, which you probably can't.
As you can read down on the scroller down below, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network page over there on the YouTube channel. We are pushing for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if we get more and it surpasses, fantastic. We're just continuing to push for 3,000 if that's the case. Again, thank you guys so much for hopping in. We have a good show. It is just going to be Brandon and I tonight. Jordan is in the midst of travel basketball, and so he is going to be doing that for this week and next week, and then after that week, he should be full go. As far as being back on the show, it was either I was going to say that or that the Jerry Jeudy hate it reached maximum, and he just couldn't appear on the show, and he needed to step away for a couple weeks. So I wanted to ride with that, but I figured it's best not to lie to the people and tell them the truth.
Yeah. I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah. By the way, I will be, I know you know this, and unfortunately you can't make it, but I will be golfing on that Saturday. We're golfing on Colorado National, so I will make sure to score well in your honor.
Please do. Man, I would love to go. I'm just spending a horrific amount of money on travel over the next 3 months. Like, I'm going to a wedding in Illinois, so I have plane tickets to Chicago. I have just bought a hotel, which is a really good deal, but still had to buy a hotel in Chicago. We're buying a rental car to get to the wedding. And then I just spent probably over $1,000 on my Europe trip, which is going to be super fun, but I'm just like, I have no more money. Although I did golf. I don't know if I told you, I golfed a couple weekends ago.
And
dude, it was crazy. I actually played well considering. So I almost striped every drive. Every drive was ridiculous. 300 yards, not even kidding. It was insane how well I was driving the ball. I couldn't do anything else from then. I couldn't get on the green. I couldn't chip. I couldn't hit any wedges. I couldn't putt, but I could drive it. Oh, I could drive it. That's all I got.
But that's kind of the thing about golf, right? If one thing is out, or if one thing is working, two things are out, or one other thing is out. It's just you can never have a full round where everything is working. And if it is, good luck. Savor that opportunity, and because it may not happen again. By the way, speaking of golf, I heard from a little birdie that Big Mike is actually starting up some golf. So hopefully he can find some left-handed clubs. I don't know why.
Big Mike, you should see if you can convince Cam's dad to give you lessons.
Do you want to give him the quick spiel?
Just his dad is just incredible. Literally fixed my golf game in a single hole. Completely forgot everything he told me, but he gave me 3 tips going up to the ball and just absolutely striped it. I did exactly what he told me. It was amazing. Probably the best drive I've ever hit.
The funniest thing,
I can't do it again. I mean, I've gotten better. Like, I've definitely gotten better since
Yeah.
then. Like, especially last time when I played. I still can't judge. My problem is I can't judge power. So, like, even if I'm hitting the right club, when I'm like, let's say I have 100, like 80 to 100 yards to the green, and I gotta use an iron to get up there, or a wedge or something. I just can't do it. Like, I don't know what it is. I hit it too hard. I hit it too soft. I top it. Like, I just overthink it. I just can't do it. Like, it's even worse with chipping. Like, with chipping, I'll either hit it like 2 feet or 30 yards over the green. There's no in between. So I got to fix that next. But yeah, his dad is a pro at just telling you exactly what you should do and fixing your game immediately.
The funniest thing ever was we were back at like the PJ Superstore, and we had and Brandon was there. He forgot.
Oh, that's when you tried out the women's clubs?
Yeah, right. But he forgot what the tip was, and still, like, as true to form as my dad was, switch went on, and he literally gave him the tip, immediately, and
I still can't remember. I don't know. I need to like record him saying it. But it was like, at this point, it was over a year ago. So like, I hadn't golfed in a long time. I get up there, I'm like, well, no, I don't. I just, what I've been doing that's working well for me. I just get up there, I stand over the ball, and I'm not letting myself think. Don't think about it. Don't go through a checklist. Just, I'm trying to grip it lighter, swing it a little bit slower, and follow through. And that's all I do. Like, that's all that works. And if I stand over it and I go through the mental checklist of, okay, put your feet here and do this on the backswing, keep your head down, then I overthink it and I can't do it. But if I just go up there, don't even think about it, stand over it, give it 2 seconds and hit it, it works. I don't know.
Well, hopefully, in the Denver Broncos NFL season, there aren't any slices or hooks, that come their way, especially even in training camp. We don't like those types of slices and hooks that result in possible player injuries or anything like that. There, you could have a curve, if you will, if you want to call it a hook or a slice in terms of a curve. But it would be like a curve ball of like a player that you're not expecting to perform.
I think that's just a sleeper, right?
Or a curveball, depending on how you want to interpret it. We are going to wrap up our entire training camp preview tonight on the show with the fact that the rookies arrived at camp today. And we should probably lead things off with some rookie discussion because the Denver Broncos now have one rookie remaining of their entire draft class that needs to be signed, and that is RJ Harvey. Jade Barron signed his deal 4 years, $18 million was the contract. Even though he was lumped together, if you will, in the pick format between he and Shamar Stewart, it appears that they were still able to come to an agreement. And so it's an exciting time anytime something like that happens. And I think the good thing to probably say is this thing was never going to be lingering, right? Like, this was never going to end up being an issue. So that's what I was just going to say, Brandon, is like for Barron, this never really was going to be an issue. They were going to get the deal done. He was attending practices. He was going to practices, attending meetings. The contract was going to end up being signed because this was not a Shamar Stewart situation.
No, but it is never good when there's two players that are from the first round that remain unsigned, and one of them is your player and the other one is Shamar Stewart. You just don't want to be in that conversation. You don't want to be included in that name. So thankfully that's done, but yeah, I don't really know. You never know what the specifics were, but from everything we had heard, it sounded like just it was going to get done. I don't know what the holdup was, but it's finished. We're good to go. The second round is a little bit different with RJ Harvey. That whole situation's
It's
weird.
been a weird year for the because in a sense, like everybody's getting fully guaranteed deals.
It's a fully guaranteed. It's literally just because the I think it was the Texans fully guaranteed Higgins' contract. I think the second pick in the second round. I think it was Jaden Higgins, and because they fully guaranteed it, it's like stepped up in front of stepped in front of the market. They're like, well, we're just gonna fully guarantee our rookie's deal. Not sure why they did that, but they kind of set that precedent. So then the Browns, who had the first pick in the second round, hadn't signed their guy yet, which was Carson Schwarzenegger, and then they had to give him a fully guaranteed contract because the pick right after him got the fully guaranteed contract, and then now everyone else wants it. So now, like, is this going to become a thing where the first and the second round is guaranteed? Like, the first round is always fully guaranteed, second round on, no longer fully guaranteed.
And actually,
now apparently, because like I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems like the only resolution is like the players will accept to get a non-fully guaranteed contract, or like we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and everyone's gonna have to fully guarantee the second round, and it's just gonna go from there. But like it's not even a lot of money. I think it's like $7 million or something. Like it gets so much cheaper out of the first round.
And funny enough, another contract just broke just now.
Really?
Alfred Collins signed his deal with the 49ers. It doesn't appear to be like a fully guaranteed deal, but but yeah, it's 4 years, $10.3 million and $9 million guaranteed.
That's interesting. So,
and the way that Schefter actually
because it wasn't fully maybe it's not going to be like every pick has to be fully guaranteed.
Maybe, but he does say that as Schefter says in his tweet that it probably could be triggering more contracts.
He also says he'll have 88% of his deal guaranteed, a huge jump over last year's number 43 overall pick. So the same pick in the same round last year was guaranteed way less money. So at the very least, if it's not fully guaranteed, it's getting up there. Like they're getting more guarantees. So
I guess that's my question, and this is a sidebar to this, but it's just like before we dive into our preview, how long before second round picks end up getting paid to a certain extent, like a first round pick, and then the first round picks kind of go back up to a certain level of where it was, like, what was it, 10, 15 years ago, where they were kind of getting absurd amount of money. I wonder if we're going to kind of do a 180 in the sense that those first round picks are going to end up making a little bit more money, if you will. Not necessarily like what it was before, but certainly a little bit more. And then the second round picks, they're going to see a little bit of a bump as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't really know. We'll see. I don't know like what affects the price of second-year contract, or second round contracts. I don't know if it's like anything to do with the CPA. I don't think it really would be the CPA.
Because the other part of it,
agent thing, but it'll be interesting to see. Like, I do think you're going to see a lot more guarantees for that round specifically, based on literally this year and the kind of dominoes falling in that direction. The interesting thing is like with specifically the second round, like I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I just looked this up. I'm so annoyed. Basically, it was something to do with like how the guarantees are structured. Anyway, I'm sure it'll come back to me, but like, yeah, definitely interesting to see what's going to happen there, and I wonder if it's just going to go out of like, or get to the point where it's going to be fully guaranteed. But I don't know if it's going to get to the point where they're just consistently making more money. I think the next step would be like the fully guaranteed contract for second round picks, but I don't know. I think it depends on like, it's like the position and like obviously where they're drafted. But I wonder, I think somewhere I read that it's like dependent on the like average contract value of that position in the NFL or something. I don't know, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm obviously
Because like that, but that's the other part of it too, right? That's the other part of it too, right? It's like they have a rookie pool.
Yeah.
Right. There's a certain designated amount of money, that they set aside, that's a part of their salary cap, right? That is for the rookie pool. So maybe that also goes up. And granted, I know that teams, they don't really, they may I think it's what, like 5 million or something like that, 5 to 10 million or something like that in the rookie pool. Teams don't necessarily use that amount of money, like up to the cap of the rookie pool for the money, if you will. Like they kind of save a little bit of some room so that they can have some money to spend in that rookie pool, if you will, or that they need to kind of dip into it for some extra money, if you will. But I think for me, it's like the other reason why I say it is because like college football's landscape has changed with the NIL, which also means that these young kids are getting paid, which also means there probably are going to be some ethics and morals that are going to be shattered to where some of these prospects that are coming into college are wanting to get a little bit more money, right? And some of the contracts, not all, but some of the contracts that going to be handed out in college in the pros are actually going to be maybe lesser contracts than what they had as NIL money.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be really interested to kind of see, one, if we see another Shamar Stewart type of situation, which I hope not.
Go ahead.
And then, of course, just the simple fact that there's the whole NIL situation where, just it varies across the board. And I hope that there's just the moral and everything is just not compromised.
Yeah, I don't think that you'll see the Shamar Stewart situation happen again, at least not consistently. The biggest, maybe, but we'll get there. The biggest thing to me that I think is playing a role there is just the organization. It's just the Bengals. This is what the Bengals do. The Bengals are a horrible, just horribly run franchise. So, like, the reason I say I don't think you'd see it happen again. Honestly, the only way I could see this happening again is with the Bengals. Like, they would probably do it again. And yeah, I realize that my camera's frozen, but I'm going to keep talking. It just, I don't know. It's crazy to see that. And specifically, did you see the report that Shamar went back to?
Wow.
He left and went back.
Sorry to break you up. Von Miller is back in the league. He's signing with Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders.
Wow. That's I
did not have that on my
bingo.
I did not have that on my bingo
card.
Mean,
good for Vaughn. Like, continue to try to get that next ring.
By the way, it's also goes to show you about him though, like in the sense of like Buffalo wasn't even on anyone's radar when he signed with Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And then
I'm just gonna turn it off for now.
And then he goes and he signs with Buffalo. So yeah, Washington is kind of like in that same territory. It was so random.
Yeah, definitely didn't expect that to happen. But yeah, good for fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think the Shamar Stewart is going to happen again, unless it's specifically with the Bengals, because they might do that to another player. You never know. They're terrible. But the interesting thing is, and I'm honestly surprised this hasn't happened before now, is like, because they're not under contract, like rookies can hold out a training camp and they're not going to get fined. They can't be fined because they hadn't signed anything. I mean, obviously they're not getting paid, so there is like a consequence to that. But I do think that could be something that maybe you start to see more in the future of like rookies holding out. To what extent, I don't know, because then like at what point did they just shoot themselves in the foot and then like giving up their chance to play in the NFL? So like it's not a foolproof system, but they can't get fined for not showing up if they hadn't signed. So definitely a little bit less egg on their face or a little bit less financial hurt, if you will, for them. I mean, obviously, again, they're not getting paid, but they're not actually having to pay anything. So interesting to see. But yeah, I don't think. I think I also read. So like I was mentioning, Shamar Stewart allegedly went back to Texas A&M and like left the Bengals, which wow. But apparently, and I don't know for sure, but I think I read that he's not actually eligible to play in college again, so he can go back and go to classes and just like sit out the entire year and then re-enter next year's draft, which
it's crazy.
Would be crazy because like I mean, talk about a gamble on yourself that you're still going to be like with going a full year of sitting out. I mean, obviously do workouts or whatever, but just it'd be interesting to see if that happens and then the Bengals literally just lose a first round pick. What would be hilarious if the Bengals drafted him again, just because.
Right.
Although I can't imagine
just out of spite. Just out of spite.
First round pick, but you know it's the Bengals. You never know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But so we talked about Jahdae Barron. Let's, as we're wrapping up our training camp preview, let's take a dive into the Broncos secondary, right? Like into the Broncos secondary. The Broncos secondary room, as we know, is like the deepest it's probably been since 2015, which, by the way, I don't know who the idiot was on Pro Football Network or whoever tweeted it when he listed all the top 10 defenses since 2000, and he chose not to list the 2015 Denver Broncos defense, or should I say even the 2013 Seattle Seahawks defense. I don't know who you are, but in the words of Liam Neeson, I will find you. But I don't know.
Some people don't know.
But you know, the secondary for that 2015 defense was deep, incredibly deep. And given the fact that Barron is a new addition, Brandon, what are you looking to see with him this year?
With Jahdae Barron, I think it's just going to depend on how we play him. Like, really, the biggest thing that I'm wanting from him is like just make an impact in the secondary. Like, because if he comes in and he's even 75% out of the gates, the player that he was in college, and like obviously he's a rookie. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but PS2 came in and was phenomenal. And yeah, he's the defensive player of the year. He's a generational talent. He's the best cornerback in the NFL. Like, that's going to happen. But I feel like with corner is another one of those positions where like, yeah, there's a lot to take in, but it's not quite as bad as like the tight end learning curve on offense, for example, as for rookies. So like, I think he's definitely going to be able to come in and play. Like, he's going to be a starter. I don't know specifically whether he's going to be starting. Like, but you can't tell me he's not going to be playing a very meaningful amount of snaps right out of the gate. I think it's going to really be up to what we see from the rest of the room. Really, like if McMillan still looks
what's up, Kodiak,
the same as he has before. What's up? And continues to be one of the best, slot defenders in the league. Although he did have some slip ups, he had some misses and hiccups last year. So maybe they're trying to see if he gets back to form. If he doesn't maybe get back to form, I think you could see Barron play maybe more in the slot and just be able to give us an upgrade there. And if McMillan does, play well, could Barron play more on the outside? It depends. But I think to me, again, the biggest thing is just like you got to find a way to get him on the field and get him meaningful snaps. But I think if you do that, he's going to ball out. He's going to show you why he was one of the best defensive prospects in that draft. And I do think he's probably going to be maybe more in the slot. It depends again on Riley Moss too. I think if Riley Moss continues to show that upward trajectory that he's had before he got injured last year and he was looking really good, I do think you could see Barron more in the slot. If Moss struggles, maybe he's more outside. Maybe it's a mix of both. But to me, it's just play like you did at Texas, and we're going to be just fine.
I think that and I don't think it's a wrong frame of mind to think this way, because I think that there's some people maybe and I kind of have fallen in the boat at times on this, but it's just like I think it's there's been some people that have been speculating, what does this mean for Riley Moss in terms of the ability to play on the boundary, right? Or or is Barron just going to be strictly on the inside, or whatever they're going to be doing as far as that secondary. I think for me, Brandon, all this is just about matchups and like just overall like how they can mix and match and do things as a defense, right? Like overall as a defense. And I think maybe long term that might be something that Barron has, or Moss is going to be truly at that fixture there, because I think all of us, myself included at least, is expecting a big bounce back year from Riley, even though he played really well before that knee injury. I think people need to remember that. There's been some conversation that Riley Moss was not as good, but they need to remember, like, he had that knee problem, and he was not the same after that knee. I mean, granted, yeah, we all wanted Riley Moss to play, but he wasn't 100%. And I get the adage, if you're 100%, you play. But they're also vying for a playoff berth at that point, and you're telling him that that he can't play in the midst of vying for a playoff berth. Good luck with that. So I think that all in all, given the fact that you have Barron into this mix and that safety room, they're going to have a lot of fun tools to work with, Brandon, in that secondary.
For sure, yeah. And I'm excited to see Riley Moss come back and be healthy, and again, hopefully continue to look like a very promising up-and-coming number 2 cornerback. I mean, he was well on his way to being the number 2 cornerback for this secondary, and was proving to be like a guy you can trust opposite Pat Surtain. And obviously, yeah, that injury derailed him a little bit, but excited to see him come back. And just Barron, however he's deployed, is going to just be a value add to this defense that's going to really propel it to absolutely in the conversation for the best defense in the league, best secondary in the league for sure. So excited to see Moss come back and excited to see what Barron does. But I think whatever happens, like, there's going to be, I think, some creativity there, just because, like, he's a very versatile player. Like, you can play him again on the outside, play him on the slot. You can play him at safety. So I'm curious to see what exactly Vance Joseph decides to do with them. But yeah, Jahdae Barron, absolutely just a fantastic defensive back in general. So however they put him out there, just find a way to get him on the field, and he's going to, again, if he does anything like he did in college, he's just an absolute just baller, right? So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what the secondary is going to look like. And I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know what the opposing offenses are going to do, because you can't, like, where are you going to throw it? You can't throw it anywhere. You can't run it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm excited.
It's interesting because Kodiak's brings up an interesting point. And granted, PJ Locke, as we found out, was dealing with that injury. That he was the first
really unique injury.
It was that unique injury. But yeah, I mean, Locke was not himself. Cody Barton was. He had some interceptions and everything, but he was a bit of a liability, right? Like, he was a bit of a liability at times in coverage. And then, of course, Justin Sternad. And so it's just like, I understand, and I think that, when you look, when you look at it, it's like, man, Moss did everything for about like 14 to 15 weeks, right? Like, and I think, given the fact of where people were with Justin Sternad and Barton and times PJ Locke, it's like those were some of those liabilities. So why can't we look at it, strictly from there and not necessarily from the fact that Moss missed like 4 games, and all of a sudden he can't do it anymore. I think it also just goes to show you how negative, right? Like absolutely how negative fans are, or just how true to form the word fandom really is.
It does, but at the same time, like Locke, Barton, Sternad, all three of those players, I think to me, you could make the case like are not starter level players that are being forced to start for you because you don't really have a better option. So, can you expect them to look elite? Like, no, they're just not that level of player. So, like when you're forced to play below average or average players, like I'm nothing against them, but I just like it takes it a lot to be, one of the upper echelon players in the NFL, and very few people have it.
Here's a hypothetical.
Like, they're still better than so many other, like you and I could possibly ever be, and so many thousands of athletes out there. But the margin for error is so thin at this level that like I just don't think. I think they're good backups, they're good depth pieces, but yeah, they weren't looking great because they're not. I don't think there should be starting for you. So
yeah, here's a hypothetical for you. Given the Riley Moss conversation, if he plays the full season, like knee injury he doesn't have, he plays a full season, who's up for defensive rookie of the year? Because remember, there was Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell that were up there. I think there's an argument that Riley Moss is in that conversation as well. He wouldn't have gotten it, but I'm just saying, like, I think that there's an argument there that he probably would have been up for rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year.
Well, in 23?
No, 20. Yeah, of course. You might as well give it to him in the NBA terms if he was up for defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. I thought he wasn't a rookie last year.
Yeah.
Second year player. No, you're good. He didn't play his rookie year, so he was.
I'd be curious.
Unofficial rookie, but yeah, it was.
I know I had a brain dead moment there, but I'd be curious because the NBA is the only sport that does that. I'd be curious if there's any other sports that kind of they've never done it, but I'd be curious if they do something to the likes of that. I don't know. Anyway, looking at some of the brand new pieces that the Broncos have added on this defense, who are you most excited for? So obviously they added Barron, they added Hufanga, they added Dre Greenlaw. They're
if healthy, it's really a toss up between Greenlaw and Hufanga. They're just like such special, like explosive players. I'm going to stick with Greenlaw just because I think it's been long since we've had like an elite linebacker. Go ahead.
Let me rephrase it this way: who would you trust more to stay healthy?
Probably Dre Greenlaw. Hufanga, just the way that he plays with his hair on fire for sure, but he just like invites injury. And Dre Greenlaw had just like absolute freak injury, just like that. Running on the field for the Super Bowl, tears his Achilles or ACL, and like just the most absolute freak injury you could possibly imagine. Whereas Hufanga, just like he kind of invites it the way he plays, and like that's what you love about him, and he's absolutely a missile. But I think I would probably trust Dre Greenlaw a little bit more, just in terms of like, I think you're going to. If you're taking bets on which one is going to play, let's say, a full season, even though Hufanga is only 25, which is kind of crazy to think about, I think I probably would take Greenlaw. Although you never know. And as I say this, like I'm aware that he did have that minor injury in the offseason that I think it was like a quad injury or something that we haven't really gotten a massive update on recently. But I just think it's Greenlaw personally because I think he has more of a history of like health and trustworthiness as opposed to Hufanga, and again, just the way that Hufanga plays. But I think right now, I'm just going to assume that they're both playing the full season because, like, if they're healthy, they're playing. So until otherwise, like, I'm just gonna always assume that they're going to play the whole year. And I think, if that does happen, this defense is going to be absolutely ridiculous, man.
I think that, and granted, it's to each their own, but I think maybe it's just given the fact that, Justin Simmons has been here and, he was a really good safety for a period of time for Denver. And at times he would play a bit reckless himself too. And he was also a playmaker in his own right. I think Hufanga is one where it's like, I love those kind of safeties. It's the Troy Polamalu effect, right? It's just they're everywhere on the football field, right? They're everywhere on the football field, and they impact the game in so many different ways, to where you could put them in the box, you could put them out back, be a playmaker. To a certain extent, it's one of the reasons why Brandon Jones signing was so fascinating when the Broncos signed him, because with Miami, he was at times used as a box safety and he was in blitz packages and, but he also had the athleticism to be a free roaming safety, which clearly, if given the fact of, putting him here with Vance Joseph, it seemed like he was fit like a glove and ended up being a top 10 safety in the NFL in 2024. So it's one of those things, now you have a variety of different players that could play a lot of different positions, in that secondary. And I think that's going to be probably one of the more exciting position groups, for Denver going forward and watch unfold in the season. So, but as far as overall injuries though, and I agree with you in the sense Greenlaw might be the one that is number one, but he's also the one too. They need him to be healthy too, right? The Broncos also need him to be healthy. Granted, like I said, they need everybody to be healthy, but they need Greenlaw to be healthy, just given the fact that the depth of that linebacker room is so bad. And I know we touched a little bit on that linebacker room and the outside linebacker room, etc. But it's just they desperately need Greenlaw healthy for that full season.
Yeah. And that's kind of partially why I also say not only do I say I think I would expect Greenlaw to be healthy. I totally agree with you. I think of the two of them, that secondary is in good enough shape that if you have Hufanga back there, it's just an absolute ridiculous unit. But even without him, Brandon Jones is a very, very good safety.
He really surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's not like we are devoid of talent there. Whereas at linebacker, if Dre Greenlaw's not out there, we're kind of devoid of talent a little bit. I'll be honest. I mean, not that we have, a Walmart greeter out there, but
and versus
it's the cupboard is bare.
Well, and I was gonna say, unlike a Walmart greeter in the blue vest, it would be an orange vest, obviously. But
yeah, it's just the Walter Penny group just being hey, we need someone. You're up.
Yeah.
Come off the bench.
We didn't have a lot of positions left to cover. We didn't get a chance to talk about the trenches. On our last show, we were going to do some trench warfare, talking about the trenches. I think, if you are a sucker for trenches and trench play like Brandon and I think that it's exciting knowing the fact that one of the deepest and most cohesive parts of this team specifically is the offensive line. And I know I personally have been kind of stressing the fact that, player development and everything from the standpoint of the wide receiver room, Brandon, but if there has been another position group that has desperately needed development there, it has been an offensive line group. Because frankly, given the fact of where Bulls was post Mike Munchak, and then you finally got Quinn Miners in there. There was a period of time where Dalton Reisner was here. We saw his rookie year where it certainly seemed like things were there with Dalton, and then his last couple of years really kind of tailed off a little bit. And they've been switching around with that right tackle, and bringing a bit of some Band-Aids, right? I know we use Band-Aids for quarterbacks, but like, you brought in DeMar Dotson, for that right tackle spot. They brought in Bobby Massey for that right tackle spot. Well, in comes Sean Payton, in comes Jack Streif, and, they go out and get Mike McGlinchey to bring in Ben Powers. They they continue to develop Quinn Miners, who ended up being a little bit of that staple. And Bowles, like one of the longest, if not the longest tenured player on the team right now, is starting to kind of trend in an area where he's becoming that left tackle that we've been accustomed to seeing when Munchak was here. So that development, as I'm talking about, I think everybody had been focusing on the wide receiver position with development, and rightfully so. But that offensive line has been so beautiful to watch. Credit to Streif and Payton for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zach Streif, I think you have a position here as long as you'd like it. I think that's pretty clear. It's been absolutely just fantastic for developing that offensive line. But also I think just like having the continuity on the line too as well has been like a really big part of seeing that development and that consistency. I mean, you've had Garrett Bowles has been like obviously the mainstay for years and years at this point. Like he's the franchise left tackle, if you will, and props to him, because for a large majority of the beginning of his career, it did not look like he was going to get anywhere close to that. So turned his career around and
or even be redeemed by fans.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, absolutely. One of the best left tackles in the NFL. And like he's getting up there in age, he's not getting any younger, but he's still playing really well. Had that broken leg injury a couple years ago, which just absolutely sucked, brutal, but he came back from that well. So anytime you have a left tackle like that, you're starting off well. But then you talked about it, like Quinn Miners, easily one of the best guards in the NFL at this point. Like he just continues to prove himself more and more. Like he's elite, such a good player. Ben Powers has been there as well for a little bit. Like all these guys, it's not like we're just like throwing this together. A lot of teams, when you don't have that depth, you don't have that development, or they're like, most teams in the NFL, honestly, like are still trying to figure out their offensive line, and they're like, well, let's throw this guy in there, let's throw this guy in there. The Chiefs, let's pay this much money for a backup tackle that barely played any time for the Steelers, right? What up, Josh? And whereas we're doing it right, we have the kind of the perfect blend of drafted guys that we've developed and some good, solid signings that weren't just Band-Aids, that could play solid for you and weren't like on the last 2 years of their deal and like at the end of their careers. So I think that's been a really, really big part of it. And like, McGlinchey is what he is, but he's not been terrible. Like compared to what we've had at right tackle for a very long time, he's pretty good.
And if we're actually being completely honest, he got better.
He got better for sure.
So things are trending upwards with McGlinchey, yeah.
And center is just the biggest thing. The biggest question mark is really center. But other than that, I mean, just a fantastic group of protectors for your young quarterback. And like,
yeah, there's
not many things you could do to better help a rookie quarterback going into a second year than give him one of the best offensive lines in the league. I mean, we're right up there. I think it's the Eagles and the Broncos are the top two, and I don't even know if the Broncos are two. Like, it's so good. Elite pass blocking, really, really good run blocking unit as well. I think it was really hard to forget about that last year because the backs that were running behind them were just terrible in every possible way. No offense, but Javonte just did not look the same.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, and just the running game was non-existent. But it wasn't because of the line. You go back and look, and they're just like, you could drive a truck through the hole that they're opening up.
Right.
But no one sees it and no one can get to it. So it doesn't matter how well they block if you don't have a person who can actually run for you. So I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see what RJ Harvey's going to do when we get him signed, because that'll happen. But yeah, for sure. I mean, this offensive line, super, super good. Bo's in a great place. You have him protected, and that's a major, major win. So, I think having this offensive line get to the place that it's been, like, all credit to Streif and Payton and just like the group they put together, because super, super well-oiled machine, and I'm excited to see what that looks like. I mean, unfortunately, because Bowles is getting older, it gets to the point of you do eventually have to figure out what are you going to do at left tackle, but we're not there yet. And as long as we have Bowles there, I think we're going to be good. And the rest of the line is just super solid. Just depends on what happens at center, and sky's the limit, really.
The overall imagery of Josh's picture here, where he says cutting lanes for our RVs, just the imagery of instead of running backs, like the RVs, instead of running backs is really hard to ignore. He also needs to work on his typing. I'll have to send him the Grammarly app so he can work on his spelling. So I think the other part of it too with the offensive line, Brandon, is we talk about the player development. There's another guy in there who really he played so well that there was a point in time where we even said it on the show during the season. Mike McGlinchey was on the hot seat for 2 games, granted, and it was just because of the fact of how he played. But Alex Pavlovsky looked really good, really, really good for the time that he was there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how his career unfolds with Denver. I was in talking with Andy. I think he's still on the stream. He did play some guard at Illinois. I don't know how many snaps he played at Illinois that were guard, but he did have some guard spots there. So if there's a situation where if there is a player contractually where they move on from, it would be Ben Powers, right? So do they consider sliding Pavlovsky there at left guard? It's going to be remain to be seen, but Pavlovsky is certainly one that is. Does he have a future in Denver? Will it be guard? Will it be the Garrett Bowles replacement at left tackle, which he's never really played left tackle before. He's played right tackle, but it's going to be interesting to see what his career unfolds, or does he end up taking almost like a Calvin Anderson type of arc where he goes and takes a starting job elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, Pavlovsky talked about offensive line depth. I mean, he's looked pretty good the limited times we've seen him. So having someone capable as your swing tackle is a great place to be in, and a place that not a lot of teams get to be in. So definitely hope we don't have to see him, but I'm glad that he's there, and you've at least seen him be competent, and I think that's really all you can ask for any kind of a backup swing tackle that you have to get out there. So definitely also love to see it, and I mean, just all across the board, this offensive line is leaps and bounds ahead of what it's been for so many years. We've gotten it right, and it just feels awesome.
How many offensive linemen do they keep this year? So, for reference point, the Baltimore Ravens had 10 offensive linemen on their roster. Now, granted, a lot of that has to do with their scheme and the fact that, they have a certain quarterback that likes to run the ball. What would you say is an appropriate number of offensive linemen that they would have to keep, and why would it be between 8 and 9?
I mean, I think the more you keep, again, the more depth you're able to have on the offensive line, the better. You definitely can't. It's one of those positions where, you can't really have too many, especially just, again, keeping the continuity going, having some good developmental players that stay with you for a couple years. I mean, that's, a great place to be in. But I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, you have Forsyth and Wattenberg, and then you have that rookie center that they brought in. He might be more of a practice squad candidate, but there's your first two, obviously, of the starting 5 in general. But I think it really just comes down to, what are we looking for? Do we want position versatility? Are we wanting to, for example, do we decide, hey, Calvin Throckmorton because he can play guard and some tackle, we don't need to keep a guard and a tackle in reserve, right? Like that, I think is what it maybe comes down to. So I would say probably somewhere around maybe 8, I think is a fair number. Just to, again, you want to make sure you have some solid depth, and I think having your at least 3 guys that you feel somewhat confident with as your swing players, I think is a good place to start. Again, maybe 9. I don't know if we're going to go the full Ravens, but 8 or 9, I think, I agree with you. That's a great number to be at, and it really depends on what we're trying to do there, and if we want to keep some guys for developmental pieces and we like what we see from them. It's just a good mix of, again, if you have 3 guys that you think you can depend on as your backups, and you have 1 guy that you're like, hey, we like what we see here, we want to keep developing you. Keeping 9 guys, I think, is definitely something I could see happening.
And it's one of those situations where I think it's going to be a mixture of both, right? Like they're going to probably pick, a certain swing tackle or 2 swing tackles, that is best suited. Obviously, Paul Chesky's going to be on the roster. The question is just, is he a swing tackle, or are they going to, have Matt Parrott still be on there, or Xavier Truss, right? Like Xavier Truss is going to be one of those guys. I believe he can play guard tackle.
Yeah.
So he's certainly going to be one of those candidates. And as we said, Clay Webb, right? Like Clay Webb, between he and Alex Forsyth, those are the 2 pure centers on the team. At least coming into the league, Forsyth was a pretty pure center, and then they decided to kind of audition him, if you will, and play him a little bit at guard and in field goal block situations, which we know went very well. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see how the offensive line gets shaked out. And now moving forward to the other side is the defensive line. And, I think that, the Broncos, and this is we didn't necessarily talk about in the offensive line, but I think things are trending in an area where they are somewhat looking at it in the vein of how the Philadelphia Eagles have been drafting, which is in the trenches first, right? Like in the trenches first. And I think that, specifically given the fact of, where things were from the defensive lines type of situations where it was really good. Like it was a very good defensive line, but still, I think the depth kind of showed out, right, Brandon? Like in the playoff game, and even against maybe some tougher opponents, it kind of showed out a little bit. And so they did what any responsible team would do, looking at this draft, and they really upgraded their depth at the run defense. I don't know what the future is going to hold with, say like John Franklin Myers and getting a possible deal done, as much as we would love to have Franklin Myers, be a part of the Broncos. Because, if you're being honest, for a player that maybe there's a ton of players in the NFL, right? But like, if there's a player who's kind of been flying under the radar for his entire career, even with the New York Jets, and for a certain period of time, when he was here last year with the Broncos, it was John Franklin Myers. And I think that, he really proved that, he's a valid and, viable contributor for this team. So, but they were able to add Savion Jones, right? Like they were able to add Savion, to this mix. They did bring in Malcolm Roach, what was the last year as well. So they beefed it up, right? Like they beefed up that defensive line and re-signed DJ Jones too on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly is happening with John Franklin Myers, but I want to keep him around. I think he's just proven to be an excellent addition to this defensive line. He's an absolute monster. Maybe it's just one of those things where they're trying to maybe save a little bit of money, and they don't want to continue to pay out because they're going to have to pay out for there's some other players they're going to need extensions
quite a bit
coming up here pretty soon. And specifically, like maybe they're looking at that money that Zach Allen's going to be getting. They obviously want to keep him, and maybe they can't pay him and Franklin Myers. But I don't know. It's weird. I don't really understand that take, honestly. Like I don't even get it from the team's point of view, if that's really the roadblock that they're running into. Just because like you have a rookie deal you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Like this is the time. If you're going to go all in and try to, build a contender around Bo, like, do it when he's on his rookie contract. You're not paying him. Pay the other guys around to pay the team. Like, and you're the richest owners in sports. Like, you're telling me you can't find a way to get that done? Like, John Frankenmeyer's had 7 sacks last year. We stole him for a 6th-round pick from the Jets. Just absolute robbery. I think he's fantastic. But we got to try to figure out a way to keep him. If we can. I don't understand not paying him again. Maybe if it's like the only thing I can think of is they're like, hey, this is what we're gonna have to pay Zach Allen. We can't get them both, but I don't know if I believe that.
And the other part of this too with the defensive line is, what does Zach Allen have to do to get off of the public enemy #1 list for Pro Football Focus, or just simply from the vein of having a little bit more popularity, than he rightfully deserves. He rightfully deserves a little bit more popularity, right? We're talking about a player that had two times the amount of QB hits than Chris Jones. Chris Jones, the really good interior defensive lineman that many felt like was the heir apparent to when Aaron Donald retired. Like, oh, there goes Chris Jones, right? Like, no, there's another guy, and of course, multiple different guys, down there in the NFL. Zach Allen is one of those players, and I think that when you look at it just from how he's been able to contribute, and you really don't need to look no further than the time he spent with Arizona, because the time he spent with Arizona and JJ Watt, the trajectory of where he's been going has been absolutely up from here. I mean, you were one of those people, Brandon, that really wanted Draymond Jones back. That ended up being erased and thrown in the trash can as quick as a hiccup. I mean, he made a lot of people laugh at their own comment for the idea of, like, let's keep Draymond and not sign Zach Allen, right? Like, he made a lot of people laugh at that kind of comment. So, I mean, like, I just think that it is blasphemy if you don't have Zach Allen in the top 50 NFL players right now. So I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how motivated he will be even more going into 2025.
Yeah, for sure.
And then as far as this defensive line and looking at it, from the depth side of things, Brandon, who are you most excited to see out of this defensive line group? Not counting, obviously, the maybe the obvious ones, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll just say I'm a sucker for the some of the less sexy parts of football. Like, I'm a sicko. Like, I enjoy good football at every level, and the fact that Q Robinson was described by so if anyone doesn't know, Nick Saban came out. Let me just do the full explanation. Nick Saban came out, obviously head coach at Alabama, where Q Robinson played, and basically said in an interview leading up to the draft that Q Robinson was the best special teams player that he's ever had on Alabama's roster. And if that's not a glowing endorsement, then I don't know what is. So I'm kind of excited to see what Q Robinson does, like on special teams specifically, because I mean, that special teams is where stars are born. Like, that's where the guys get noticed and show out. And I think that'll be fun to see. And then, I mean, whenever he's able to play some snaps on defense and rush the passer, like, he's a very good pass rusher. He might be more of that designated pass rusher here initially, but I think I'm more excited for Q Robinson on that defensive line. Just in general, you take out the obvious ones, but Q Robinson to me is really, really intriguing as a just a prospect when we picked him up. And the more you hear about him, the more intrigued and excited you can get. Specifically with again, that's definitely not light praise from Nick Saban of all people. So I'm really excited to see what Q Robinson does. I mean, even on the other side of the rookie coin there on the defensive line too, like Savion Jones is also looks super good. So
Yeah, the early returns.
I'm excited for both of them, but I think Robinson specifically.
The early returns of the draft class has been really solid, and one of the things, by the way, for people that are in the comments and everything and watching this stream on whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or even our X handles, right? Like Brandon is streaming over there on his X handle, at Brandon Miller PO. I'm streaming at Cameron Parker PO, and we're also streaming on the MHRT network, Twitter account, and of course, Jordan, even though he's not here, is streaming over there on his Twitter account. We're going to talk about the really famous conversation that is always had, and it's been rolling around at times, on X from multiple Broncos content people, really good Broncos content people. We're going to talk about it a little bit, as we're kind of wrapping up the whole training camp preview, and that is the breakout players and everything, and who are going to be maybe some of the camp darlings, that sort of kind of discussion, if you will. So, and we're almost at that point. Like, we only have I think it's a couple positions to talk about now, Brandon, and that is we're going to save the best for last, obviously. But let's talk about this running back position, because it is going to be one of the more followed positions. Right, Brandon? It's going to be one of the more followed positions, for the Denver Broncos of not just training camp, but the entire season. And a lot has been made, right? A lot has been made about what exactly is this room going to look like? How many players are they going to be having in this room? Is it going to be 3? Is it going to be 4? I think everybody is okay in thinking, I said to myself, but it's okay in thinking that the highest ceiling, not saying it's going to ever achieve that, but the highest ceiling for the duo of J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, interestingly enough, and given the fact that Sean Payton, is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Ooh, man. I mean, that's incredibly high praise. I'm not going to go that far, but
I said high ceiling though.
I'm just gonna let me just lead with this, because I get where you're coming from, and I think definitely high ceiling. And I'm just not gonna have a camera tonight, boys. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happens. It just hates me, so no camera for me. But I do think high praise for sure, high bar. Not entirely out of the question. I think with J.K. Dobbins, obviously he has that injury history, but if you're putting him behind this offensive line and he doesn't have to take every single carry, I think that's probably the best opportunity for J.K. Dobbins to be in. Here is a list of every running back last year that had more 30 or more yard rushes than J.K. Dobbins last season. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving. That's it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think J.K. Dobbins is a little bit of a sleeper here. He's a little underrated, and the fantasy community imploded when that happened because R.J. Harvey's touches are going away and his career is over. Rip. But no, I think this is going to be a fantastic duo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think bringing in someone like Dobbins was such a smart move. Upgrade the line, upgrade that room in every way that you can. Obviously bring in RJ Harvey, but it was so bad last year that you really need to do as much as you can, and he was out there and available, so we went and got him, and I can't be mad at that at all. I think they're going to be a very, very good duo. They're going to play off of each other well. They're going to spell each other well, and I think we're going to end up with a vastly superior running game than we had last year, and the bar is not high, but I think that's going to be even more of a boon for this offense that looks to continue to take a step with Bo in his second year. And this might even help, avoid, we're not going to jinx it, but there's a certain saying that goes around that rhymes with moth more jump that happens for quarterbacks. And maybe having more of a running game will maybe help prevent that a little bit and give him more.
That and I was gonna say that and heel is back.
Yeah, for sure. Heal back, man. That's crazy that he's still playing with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm super, super excited. I think that's an insanely lofty aspiration, Cam, for that running back duo, but I'm here for it. That would be amazing. That'd be absolutely crazy. But Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, cream of the crop, top running back duo in the league by far. But maybe J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey can be right there behind them. I don't know, but I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. An absolutely massive improvement from last year, like I said. And again, I think this offensive line is going to enjoy blocking for these guys that actually can carry the ball. So that'll be fun.
I think that people don't understand, and again, like the way we preface this is going to be the worst team that is, that Bo Nix has been fielding this year and this last year are going to be. It's always going to get better from here, right? Like it's going to be getting better from here.
Worse that this team's
but I don't think people say it, or I think the thing to say is like, I think people need to say it more and more and more and yell it from the rooftops. I don't think people realize how bad the tight end room and running back room really was. I mean, I think if you're a Broncos fan, obviously you know it. But
I think people know how bad the tight end room was, but maybe not the running back room.
But I just think that just in general, I think the more you just look at the Denver Broncos and just Javonte just was so much of a shell of himself that he would run into defenders or even offensive linemen. And it would just be a consistent 1 yard to 2 yard gain where he lost his step here, he lost his ability to break tackles, or Jaleel wasn't necessarily as effective as probably he should have been, given the fact that there really wasn't a 1-2 punch, right? And so I think that, I think just simply even having the idea of J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey is going to also make guys like Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin that much better, in their respective roles, whether Estime is in a bit of a shortened situation or even Jaleel in a bit of a shortened situation in terms of reps. They will be better because of that, and because of certain situations and load management of how they want to, utilize that. So I just think that, the running back room will be better. And I realize too that Evan Ingram, and we talked about the tight ends and everything and wide receivers. Obviously I know Evan Ingram crosses both of that. He's a tight end and he's a wide receiver, but just simply having a tight end that can work the middle of the field and be, for all intents and purposes, a yak monster like that, and fit like a glove for what Sean Payton wants, who has not had a tight end like that since, Jeremy Shockey and Jimmy Graham, and of course, working the middle of the field for a quarterback who we know can work the middle of the field and push the ball down the field, contrary to, all the hitters out there in the world. I just think that, and to tie a bow on it once again, I just wish that people outside of Denver would just talk more and more and more about the idea of, man, they really struggled at running back at tight end. And the fact that it looks and appears like they got better there, you just add more there. There's a possibility they add 1 or 2 more wins just simply because of that.
Let them sleep. They look peaceful.
That brings us to the best part of the training camp preview and training camp overall in 2025, Brandon. And granted, this was the case when Russ was here. We don't have a quarterback dilemma. We do not have a quarterback dilemma anymore, and it seems like things are trending in the direction of a franchise quarterback, despite the fact that it was a rookie season. And despite the fact that he was quite literally carrying the Denver Broncos team into Mordor, if you will, and he dropped it off. And once that season was done, he said, it's done. And he was probably so happy to have that season be finished, but maybe not necessarily to the degree it was, but he carried the Denver Broncos to the finish line. He was the team MVP. And for all intents and purposes and arguments, Brandon, there is something to be said that he played from weeks 4 to the end of the season, like, a top, 12 and, even top 10 quarterback. And that'd be Bo Nix.
I think top 12, top 10 is a little much. I'll be honest.
I'm not saying I'm not saying I put him there. I'm just saying that. But based on his performance and level of play, it was about as good as you could ask for.
Oh yeah, no. I'll give you top 15. I think for sure. But definitely, like, the arrow is trending way up, right? Like, if not for the freak that is Jaden Daniels' rookie season, which props to him because that was actually insane. This would probably be one of the greatest rookie seasons.
I think it is anyway.
In recent memory or ever. I think Jaden Daniels. It's Jaden Daniels.
But I think it is anyway. I think if you look up the rookie seasons of the way that people played, I think that Jaden is there. I think Bo is there, and obviously I think Stroud is there.
Oh yeah. Well, I also think rookie Dak and rookie Justin Herbert are probably somewhere in that conversation as well. But I think, if not for Jaden, like, all of the hype would have been on Bo, I think. But how much hype does it take to finally destroy the demon that is pre-draft biases? But I think definitely the arrows trending way up. And right now, if I had to do the actual quarterback ranking, forbid, but it would be, I think I'd put Bo somewhere in the mid-8, like around 18 or so, middle of the pack,
which is fair
for entering a second-year player. Like, absolutely nothing to sneeze at there. Like, that's still a pretty good starter going into year 2. So I think he can only continue to go up, and I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. But I definitely think, he definitely looked like probably a top 15 quarterback towards the end of the year. I'm not ready to put him in that top 12 bucket just yet, but I think, even if you put him at 18, and I think that's very fair right now, as much as I don't really want to do a quarterback ranking, I think I'm excited to see Bo. We're getting close here, and the team around him has only gotten better.
And I don't mean to get too spicy on this either, but it's just like, and I agree with you. Again, I'm just more talking about level of performance, because it's just like the reason why I'm saying, like, I'm fine putting him in the top 16 or even like the top 18 with Bo. I'm also very disappointed by the fact that Jaden Daniels is in the top 10 quarterback conversation. I actually mean that, because, like, he had a historic rookie season, but that has no merit whatsoever. Just like Bo had a great rookie season, but it has no merit for the fact of, being in the top 10 quarterback conversation, in my opinion. If you're in the top 10,
looking for content.
No, I know.
I agree with you. I think it's
absurd.
Way too early.
Yeah, I think it's just absolutely absurd. I think people are just latching on, and granted, I think they're latching on a bit too early. But I just think it's irresponsible to be putting, the quarterback of Jaden even in the top 10, or frankly even in the top 5 for that matter. But as far as Bo, even if he put together the same amount of season touchdown to interception wise, I'm okay with that, because I think that, in 2025, because I think at the end of the day, it's like, it's also what we see with our eyes and what the film was telling us too, right? Because, like, at the period of time and from like weeks 1 to 4, he did not have command of where he was, in the huddle, and and just overall with Sean's playbook. From week 4 to week 18 to the end of the season, it was like a light went on, and he was a completely different quarterback to what we saw. And if we can see that, and that command of a huddle and the command leadership type of presence is something that translates to the field, and specifically off the field and in the practices, to where he's just a step or two ahead of everybody on the field because of the fact he's such that cerebral quarterback, right? Like, because that is something that the part of they talked about it with Bo is that, he's one of the smartest quarterbacks, right, coming out of college, and he's also one of the more efficient quarterbacks coming out of college. The thing for me is, like, I have never seen a quarterback switch, even just pro comparisons, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. We were hearing comparisons to Drew Brees Jr. at the beginning part of the season, and we're hearing some of it, now, right? But at the end of the season, and I think in large part it's because of Steve Spagnuolo, but Spags coming out and saying that Bo Nix is playing at a Josh Allen Jr. type of level is absolutely insane. So it goes to show you the level of play that we had seen from Bo and the confidence and the swagger that he was able to play with as the season was progressing, to where we had a cerebral type of quarterback to where he all of a sudden puts it together like a Josh Allen. And if there's anybody defensive coordinator wise who has had so many battles with Josh Allen as of this point, it's Steve Spagnuolo. So it's crazy to me that we've seen that kind of stuff unfold.
Yeah, I mean, I think to an extent, Spags was just given the opponent the respect that he
we backed it up
should give, but I think that's a little bit of a out there comparison, I'll be honest, but I definitely think, like, Bo proved the haters wrong. Like, that's absolutely true. Everyone coming out was like, he can only throw screens, he can only operate one specific offense, he's not going to succeed in the NFL.
He's a screen merchant, he's a check down merchant.
The longest pass in of the entire season. But I definitely think, like, again, I personally think it's too early to really say much of any judgment for both Bo and for Jaden. Like, I think what Spag said is awesome, and, like, definitely some nice respect to put on Bo's name. But to really compare anyone this early in their career, like, did no one learn anything from CJ Stroud? And, like, not that CJ Stroud, like, imploded last year. That entire offense kind of just let him down.
Line
just looked much worse. The offensive line was terrible. It's probably going to be worse this year, to be honest. But I think, like, anyone that's like, oh, Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback, or even, Bo is a top whatever quarterback, or he's, bottom 5 quarterback, whatever you want to say. Like, it's way too early in all of these guys' young careers to make any of these statements. And I think any of that ranking is just kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But I think I'm excited to see what we're going to get out of Bo this year. And I'm glad to see that some people are taking notice. And, it's just the haters on Twitter that are going to continue to keep their pre-draft biases alive as long as they possibly can. They can do them. I don't care.
And
I'm just going to enjoy having a quarterback.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and I think that just to tie a bow on the quarterback conversation in general, just Jarrett Stidham's got to be ready. Jarrett Stidham's just got to be ready, because obviously, there is the situation with Bo's back, and I think if it's a situation where I think it was just unforeseen circumstances, if you will. And I really do think that there's a situation where, Stidham's just going to have to be ready. I think that that's why maybe there's a certain level to the idea that Stidham was probably the better alternative than Zach Wilson, even though I think the ceiling of the room and everything between Wilson and Bo was a little bit higher than Stidham and Bo. Just simply having that veteran presence, and specifically a person who, even in the course of Bo's career, like his football career dating back to Auburn, who was there with him, and to see him grow, I think is so important for Bo's development, and of course, Stidham's development, which we know that, maybe one of the more unsaid storylines, of the 2024 season was just how tight-knit that quarterback room really was.
Yeah, I definitely think Jared Stidham, as much as I love Zach Wilson, I think Jared Stidham was the smart play of the two to be the backup for Bo. And hopefully,
looking back on it
much, but yeah, I definitely think that was the smart play. Stylistically, they're just way more similar than Zach Wilson and Bo. Zach is more of that kind of gunslinger mentality, whereas both Stidham and Bo are more of the kind of dice you up, stand in the pocket, extend some plays with your legs, but they're not afraid to take the check down. They don't have to attempt a 30-yard pass every snap, right? So I think of the two options you had, Jared Stidham was the better one for sure, and you give Zach Wilson more of an opportunity to maybe even start by letting him go to Miami, although whoever knows what's going to happen there. But yeah, I definitely think hopefully we're not going to have to see Jared Stidham much, but it's nice to see that the camaraderie that they have and just the relationship that they have in that room is going so well. And you definitely want to make sure. I think in any situation, like having a good relationship between the starter and the backup is a good thing, not just because they're working together every day and the backup needs to come in and actually play if needed. But I think just having two guys in that room that are on each other's team, like not in the literal sense, but just like they have each other's backs. They're going to go through film. They're going to work on things together. They're going to improve together and learn together. Like, I think that's what it seems like that relationship is looking like. And I think that's definitely a good thing. So excited to see how that continues to go. Cause I mean, there's definitely the backup situations out there where they're just the backup. They have no relationship, or it's like too much of a competition, or, you have the weird situation where like you have maybe a veteran who might have to be a backup and they've been a backup before. And it just like, I don't know. I think that just creates more trouble than maybe it's worth. And, yeah, I think we're in a good situation.
Yeah. We tie all of that quarterback conversation in 7 words.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Tying a bow now on the entire show here as we get ready to wrap it up. When you look at this roster and you look at the simple fact of where things are trending, let's look at breakout players for the 2025 season. We don't necessarily need to talk about like most improved necessarily just yet. We can talk about that as the season goes on, but I figure like breakout is something maybe like if we're going to talk about it now, training camp seems to be like the appropriate time to talk about it because there's a difference between camp darlings and breakout players, but sometimes those camp darlings, trend upwards to be possible breakout players, for a season. So offensive breakout player, Brandon, and defensive breakout player for the Denver Broncos. And people that are in the chat too, feel free to chime in, whether it's you're watching the stream, like as we said, it's on my handle, if you will, at Cameron Parker PO, at Brandon's X handle, if you will, at Brandon Miller PO, or even Jordan at Jordan T. Lopez's handle, and of course the MHRT Network or YouTube, Facebook, obviously. But feel free to chime in the comments. Breakout player, offense and defense. I think we have somewhat of an idea on some of those players, Brandon. But what say you on offense and defensive breakout player?
Offense, I'm going Marvin Mims. I think he's just continued to improve and get better as a player. And he seems to really have built a solid connection with Bo. So going into their second year together, I absolutely can see a situation, especially in this wide receiver room where like it's a little bit murky. I mean, you have Cortland Sutton, and then it's kind of like who is your next number 2 wide receiver? Is it Vele? Is it Franklin? Is it Pat Bryant? I mean, I don't know, but I think Marvin Mims is kind of in that mix where he has a different enough skill set from the rest of those guys that he's able to be utilized in the offense in a little bit of a different way, and there's not going to be a situation where there's maybe too many mouths to feed and you're going to be splitting up targets a lot. So I think Marvin Mims is just going to continue to look better and better in this offense and have more of a role and get in the ball a little bit more. I think he's going to be really fun to watch, and we have a good down the field burner, good field stretcher for Bo, and they seem to be building a good chemistry. So I'm going to go with Marvin Mims. Also a good kick returner too.
Yeah, my comparison, and I said it earlier, like a handful of shows ago, was Percy Harvin, because I think a lot of people said Debo, and and like he's tinier. he's not as fat, he's not as big, and I just think that when you look at it as far as just the way he plays and the way that they utilize him, it just very much screams Percy Harvin. I think he's a good candidate for breakout. And frankly, I think there's probably 2 legitimate candidates that you could go with. I think Mims is the safe option of the 2. I think the other is Troy Franklin. I think that Troy Franklin is my breakout offensive player. I think that we do see a step above for him in 2025. And I think he writes a bit of some of those doubters off a little bit. I mean, obviously he'll have some of those doubters, but I think that, he will break out a little bit. I think that, you might even see him at times, just given his frame and everything, maybe be used in certain situations like what Mims, has in terms of those plays out of the backfield, in terms of some of those wheel routes, just to kind of take, the pressure off at times and just use them in different situations. So I think that it gives the Broncos at least a variety of different ways of how they want to maybe use some players. Because I think that maybe what it is that you have kind of like your Harvin, right? And, I know Troy Franklin is not necessarily the same size, but he's got the speed of Jaden Reed. And I would love to see maybe the Broncos kind of use Franklin. The more I thought about it, is like maybe use him a little bit at times. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what it can do. And the defense will break up. I'm going to go Jonah Ellis.
That's a good one.
I'm going to go Jonah Ellis. And I think that it's an interesting one, but I mean, like, we're talking about a rather productive player, even when he was in college, or like, he's one where he's a streaky, like hot streak type of player that could be able to create a lot of tackles for loss. And the run defense, it certainly seemed like he got a lot better too as the season was progressing. So I'm looking at Ellis, and I'm thinking, like, this player, if there was ever a scenario, and I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if there is a scenario where Benito would ever become expendable, it would be because of the project and the development of what we're seeing from Ellis and the way he's unfolding. So I think that, for Ellis and the way he's been able to be such a relentless motor at this point in the early part of his career, I'm very much looking to see what year 2 is going to be unfolding as with Jonah Ellis.
Yeah, that's a good one. Jonah Ellis is going to be a monster. I'm going to go with Chris Abrams-Drain. Over the back half of the season, he started to look pretty solid. He had that awesome rep against the Chargers at the end of the year where he picked off like what looked like an absolute surefire touchdown in the end zone by Justin Herbert, and was able to bring that back for a pretty good return. Just like solid play on the ball. He's a little bit smaller, but I think he's just another weapon to put in that defensive back room that is already, a freaking armory. But I'm excited to see what Chris Abrams-Drain does. I think he's a little bit fallen under the radar just because of like the John A. Barron pick, which it makes sense. But Chris Abrams-Drain was looking pretty good at the end of the year as a rookie last year, so I'm excited to see what.
And frankly, he's not getting a lot of love. I know we talked about the. I know we talked a lot about this cornerback room. I think that if there's probably an underappreciated player, maybe between offense and defense, it's Chris Abrams-Drain, because I just don't think a lot of people are talking about him nearly enough. And even just stepping up in the short amount of time that he did at the tail end of last season and contributing at such a high level was such a good sign. You could argue he was like the cornerback version of what we saw from Ellis. So I really do think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. He made some awesome plays the week before that Chargers game too against Anthony Richardson and the Colts. And Anthony Richardson didn't help himself at all, but just made some awesome breaks on the ball. Chris Abrams-Drain is going to be fun to watch, and I think he's going to be hopefully not too much of a continued underrated player, just because I think he's has the potential to be special. And again, this secondary is absolutely loaded. But I think the reason you're going to maybe see him break out is everyone's going to be looking at literally every other player in that secondary. Right. Chris Abrams-Drain is going to be there like, hey, I'm still here, and he's going to make some awesome plays. So that'll be fun.
No Levi Wallace in that room. Godspeed to Levi.
No. If we were talking kicked out players, different conversation.
Right. Thank you guys to everybody who hopped into the chat, to Kodiak, to Josh, to Victory Lap. Andy, of course, to Mikey and Big Mike. Thank you to everybody that chimed in. It was a great night. And yes, Mundungus, he says Brandon's face looks a little bit more orange tonight than usual. So this is a case where I think Brandon is confirming what we now all know, and that is he has a face for radio. He does not have a face. He does not have a face, unlike me, for YouTube streaming or being on camera, I should say.
That perfect video face. I will say I just placed an order for a new webcam. So hopefully,
just now, like I
literally just did it because I'm like, this is insane, and also I'm gonna need a new video camera anyway. So, I don't know what's up with this one, but it is questionable to say the least. So hopefully that fixes it. But yes, my face is now orange. I am the Denver Broncos.
He is the Denver Broncos. Yeah.
I thought the easiest way for people to stop thinking I was an NBA player.
Although, to be fair, if they saw you and they saw the other Brandon Miller, I think they would, at least the smart person, would hope so. Would realize, oh, they are very different.
Only one time that I ever have anyone look at me and think that I was the NBA player, and then I handed them back their glasses.
Thanks to everybody who hopped into the chat. We're gonna do another show next Wednesday, and actually, it's gonna be something that I tweeted out earlier this week, where we talked about like what if scenarios, and there is a bunch of what if scenarios in Denver Broncos history. So we're gonna talk about them. We're gonna talk about them. How things possibly could have unfolded in some of that Denver Broncos history arc. So we're going to talk about that next week, and then maybe some news and notes, if you will, from training camp. So it's going to be a fun, loaded show. Again, thanks to everybody that was in the comments, and to the boss man, Mundungus being one of the very last comments, actually the last comment. Reminder to everybody to hit that subscribe button for MHRT Network on that YouTube channel. We are pushing for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we are very close to 1.5, if you will, right now. So hopefully we can hit that. And we are about or at that point, we'll be halfway there. So let's see if we can get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Follow both Brandon and I and the rest of the team over here on Manely Broncos. That would be at Manly Broncos Twitter handle. You can follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. You can follow myself at Cameron Parker PO. Jordan is not here tonight, that you can follow him at Jordan T. Lopez, and Matty Mulls. He is our basketball expert and / part-timer, if you will, at this point. But you can follow him at Matty Mulls Pod. Thank you again to everybody that has been chiming in and enjoying the Manly Broncos content. We'll be back here next Wednesday for another episode of the show. And I know we played it earlier, but again, we just feel so grateful to have a team and a situation of where we are because of Bo Nix.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame miles.